So here we go.
Yeah, so we have PS back on the fleet of BBMF. Checked my logbook and it's been over 2 years since I last flew a 19. So they are very different. Unfortunately, we need to go up and stall it. The clouds just rolled in. Bit of a miserable weekend we've got ahead. So hopefully Monday I'll take her up and re-familiarise herself. But even actually, I just quickly started it and taxied. They are surprisingly different. The Griffon engine, you know, that is just the cockpit. It's just got little subtle differences, but it's strange, even after 2 years you find your hands are naturally moving to various bits, and it all came flooding back. I forgot there's no mirror on the 19, but other than that, no, she's lovely. Definitely know it's a different engine, you know, as soon as you fire it up, it's a great big 37 litre, very powerful, slightly different exhaust note to the Merlin, but it's just a big old Spitfire, 5-blade propeller. Clearly flying it, the propeller goes the other way, so it's left rudder instead of right rudder when you power up. So it's almost like, you know, driving a left-hand steering wheel car. You know, it's just different, and that just will be, you know, that's just the big feature.
It's got long endurance as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, she's got lots of fuel. I mean, you know, in the war they had fuel in the leading edge of the wing as well. You know, 243 internal gallons of fuel, which is amazing. We've just got it in the a little bit in the wings, and mainly in the just in front of me. We've got 121 gallons of internal fuel, but yeah, you know, she's good for a good 2 hours, and that's, you know, bimbling around at 200 miles an hour. Really fast, and as soon as you put any power in her, you know, she's up at 300 in a heartbeat. So very fast, very powerful, and testimony of just what a remarkable aircraft the Spitfire was. You know, from a Battle of Britain Mark 1, you know, it morphed into this beast in front of us, retractable tail wheel, as you say, loads of internal fuel, you know, you can recognise it as a Spitfire, but actually if you park them side by side, you realise just how different they are. And handling, you know, they're obviously a Spitfire, but they all have their little quirks, and they fly differently. But you know, I cannot wait to fly her on Monday. It's been 2 years, has been too long, and I want to get back in her again and take her up.
What's the story behind the paint scheme?
It's a very interesting one. It's 81 Squadron, and they were doing some sneaky beaky operations. Lieutenant Powell's was flying, essentially getting air-to-air photography of sort of, you know, China and that bit of airspace post the war, early 50s. And he did 107 missions. He had two. I think his favourite was a PS915, but there was 854, and they were essentially operating, you know, out of Hong Kong and down that neck of the woods. But it was, you know, post-war, very, very dangerous time, really. You know, even though the war had finished, you know, relationships were very cold. And yeah, he was flying reconnaissance sorties, you know, essentially pretty unauthorised, and just to try and, you know, find out what was going on in that neck of the woods. He also climbed up and he set a 51,000 foot altitude limit in a Spitfire. And again, we were reading about it, that the pressurisation above 50 really started to struggle.
Of course.
These Spitfires were pressurised, hence there's no door on the Mark 19. It's a bit of a jump in and out of them. But again, phenomenal to take a Spitfire up to 51,000 feet, and extraordinary. So, you know, the stories of him, you know, as he came back from sort of 3-hour missions, he literally ran out of fuel, and the engine failed on finals, and he glid the Spitfire in. Just incredible, and got the DFC for his exploits, thoroughly deserved. So yeah, post-war, but, you know, again, another fascinating, almost final chapter of the Spitfire story. The fact that she was still, you know, a phenomenal aircraft, and you know, essentially above the sort of 45,000 feet. With the early jets of the time, she was still almost untouchable up at those heights. So pretty phenomenal aircraft.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you for talking to FlyPast.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure.